Hi, a very good morning to each and every one of you. Hi, a very interesting topic that we are having today on thriving in a multi-generation workforce. And I'm sure not only all of us up here on the stage, just want to maybe have a quick feel of the population that we have this morning, yeah? So how many of you are, okay, I will not say baby boomer, how many of you belongs to the group of Gen X? Can you please raise your hand? Gen X. All right. Okay, if they don't know, you just point to them. If they look like Gen X, you just point. All right. Okay, those who look like us, okay? All right, the second one, yeah. Of course, I think I would like to know how many of you belong to the Gen Y group.
Gen Y.
Okay, all right. So last but not least, Gen Z. Can you please raise your hand? Oh. Okay, I wonder because I just look around. Looks like some of you did not raise your hand. Are you kind of like lost in between or hybrid?
The border.
The border, yeah, you are at the border. You are right. So looks like we are having quite a balanced group between the X, Y, and Z. Okay, all right. Let's begin. So well, we are living in a very, I would say, unique workforce nowadays, where we have a good mix of the X, the Y, and the Z. Each come with different expectations, values, and the way we communicate, mainly because of the way we were brought up, yeah, and many other factors too. So as I was preparing for the session today, I feel very, very excited because not only the topic itself is very interesting, we are also having a very good combination of panelists today that would help us to really stir this topic and look at the reality of it. What do we take out of it? And hopefully we can also at the end of the session bring back some really good tips that could help us to work in this multi-generation workforce. Well, allow me now to introduce to you, or I rather get the panelists to introduce themselves. All right, for respectful purpose, we shall start with the Gen X first. All right, so let's give a big round of applause to Pauline, and we'll let her to introduce herself.
Thank you, I'm the youngest.
Me too.
So right now I'm a senior director in package innovation. I lead a team worldwide, just a small team of about 18 of us only. Our role is to develop, qualify, and launch new products across 15 OSATs. So it's a very simple role. Thank you.
Very simple.
Yeah, simple but important, right? Okay, good. So, well, after Gen X, let's hear from the Gen Y. We'll have Vivek today with us, representing the Gen Y. Yay!
Hello. Good morning, everyone. So, I'm Vivek. Currently, I'm leading the Wafer test manufacturing team. I've been with NXP for close to about 11 years right now, and ever since graduation until now. So, what else about me? I was trying to Google a bit about Gen. I saw a lot of difference between generations, right? So I just had a baby boy, some interesting fact. Then I realized that the son that I had, he's at the end of Gen A. So right now, there's so many generations, and it's a bit confusing to differentiate between all generations. So whoever is born next year onwards is going to be Gen B. So the generation gap is getting much more larger as time goes, and I think this panel will be a good way for us to discuss how to move forward.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Vivek. I can imagine 20 years down the road, your son will be here talking with another generation. All right, good. Okay, so now, all right. So now, we would like to invite, we have got a very, as I mentioned, a very unique panelist here because we have got two Gen Z. Yeah, we got two Gen Z here for us to hear different views from someone who is working in NXP and for another one who choose to be a freelancer. So let's hear that, yeah? So let's invite Imran first to represent the Gen Z from NXP.
Hello, test. Can you? Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good morning, everyone. Okay, so I'm Imran Arif, but I think everyone can just call me Imran. So NXP has been my first job ever since I graduated, and that's only been 3 years ago. So I've been working as an FA engineer for the past 3 years, and okay, I don't have a baby boy to say. Soon, maybe soon, yeah. But okay, maybe I share one interesting fact about me. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so I think one interesting fact about me is that I have a huge soft spot for animals. Like it doesn't matter if it's like cats, dogs, birds. I have a bit bias with cats lah. But okay, aside from that, I have one four-legged baby at home right now waiting for me. The name's Dola, is a female cat. And yeah, I just have a huge soft spot for animals. Huge soft spot. Like when you watch those YouTube reels, TikTok about those sob stories about cats or dogs abandoned. Oh, that one I cannot. I cannot. So yeah, I think that's all about me. Yeah.
Alright, thank you Imran for sharing that, and also for us to know a little bit more about the personal side of you. Yeah, alright. So let us now move on to another interesting, okay, I should not say species. Another, so sorry because I work with Elton quite closely. Yes, so anyway, so Elton represents Gen Z who is not working in a corporate world like you all. In a corporate context, in a proper, maybe a traditional working context. So, let's hear from Elton for him to give a quick and fun self-introduction of him.
Okay, hi, I'm Elton, and I run Break the Box Services, which is a digital marketing agency, a small digital marketing agency. And what most Gen Z would say is the life that Gen Z wants to live, like digital nomad kind of life. So that's what I do. Fun fact, so a lot of people like to say flexi hours, Gen Z like to work flexi hours. I actually work way longer than that. So that's a fun fact. And other than that, I actually used to run a virtual assistant agency, so that's why I always tell people that I'm a mercenary. You pay me enough, I will get things done for you lah. So that's a bit of my background before I started the digital marketing agency. And recently I've been doing a lot of, because my clients are mostly Gen X and Gen Y, so I'm trying to reach across the aisle to actually understand what better ways we can collaborate and also better ways we can understand each other. Because not only they need to work with us, eventually we need to work with whatever's coming after, I think Gen Alpha, that's the next one. So we're gonna face the same issues, so how can we, close the gap? So yeah.
All right, thank you, Elton. Oh, okay, yes, please do.
I forgot a fun fact.
All right, let's
You look at me so busy, right? But the fun fact about me, I'm attending a singing class. Every week, once a week, singing class.
Enough for once a week.
What singing class is that? If you don't mind to elaborate a little, what singing class is that?
This coach is from Singapore. Online, Can you imagine a singing class online? She'll teach techniques how to sing better. Yeah, I have to unlearn a lot of things and relearn new things. Yeah, so interesting.
So when we get to hear you sing, annual dinner.
So I got to thank you very much, Pauline. Yeah, do not underestimate Gen X. Not only a singing class. The highlight here is singing class online. Yeah. All right. Okay, good. Okay. Well, thank you so much, each and every one of you, to start this session in a very lively way. Well, as mentioned, we live in the era now which is very unique. Yeah, where we have multi-generation workforce in it. And on one hand, it presents some challenges. Yeah, some challenges because of the differences we have. But on the other hand, certainly, it is a time where opportunity arises. If we could tap on the strengths from each and every of this generation, I'm sure we could, or NXP could thrive. Let me start off the session by having a warm-up question. All right, this warm-up question will be, not anybody, when you feel like taking it, is how is your experience like Yeah, real life experience, day-to-day challenges, aspirations, when you work in this context of multi-generation workforce. Well, anybody would like to start?
Okay, I start first, yeah?
Sure.
So I deal with old sets, 15 old sets, yeah. Every day conference call non-stop. But you never know the other side of the call, right? Who is sitting there meeting with us. So they are multi-generation. So to get our message across, we need to state very clearly the purpose of every single action we want them to take. Because why? Especially Gen Z, no offense,
Offense sticker.
you want to know the purpose in order for you to have the motivation of doing it. Otherwise, you will not be happy doing it, right? Or you don't even want to do it. Right?
Why?
So how to create that motivation is to really explain very clearly the whole purpose of every single action. This is what we have to go through every day in our conference calls. You can ask my guy, Azam is there. Purpose is very important. Create the purpose so that you have the motivation.
I think can I just add? I think mainly because we grew up in information, social media age, we are taught to question everything that we see, and also the motivations behind why people say certain things. I think if you're on social media, you know a lot of things are not based on people's opinion, but mainly if let's say they are sponsored, they are paid to. That is one of another motivation. So we tend to always ask, why are we doing this? What's the purpose behind this? So I think it's not so much we want to challenge you, but it's ingrained within our culture and how we were brought up in this digital age.
Interesting, yeah? Especially when Pauline mentioned just now, in every single meeting, we have to very intentionally state our motivation and the why behind it. And I heard very loud from this side of the panel. So I wonder, how is your day-to-day working with this multi-generation workforce?
I think just to add on to polling, even for a Gen X or Gen Y, we would still need a purpose for us to do a work. Gen Z, maybe they need it directly at that moment. But Gen X, Gen Y, we would listen first, and then we would still need a purpose for why we do the work. Only thing that I think Gen Z tends to question whatever is purpose that you've given to them. Sometimes you don't believe in it, you easily question back the status quo. Whereas Gen X and Y, maybe at times we will listen first, and then after a while thinking, we'll come back to you. Okay, this doesn't make sense. But purpose is still needed for overall for everybody. And then in terms of say communication, I'm looking at Gen X, Y, and Z, right? So I'm a Gen Y. When we work in a manufacturing line, so when I speak to operators, for example, the way I approach a senior operator who's a Gen X is much more. At the beginning, when I was given this question, I didn't really think about it. I was thinking that I approach everyone the same. But what I realized is that if you're a bit more older, you're Gen X, the way that I would approach the person is a bit more respectful, and I would meet the person face to face and provide a purpose, for example. Whereas if it's a Gen Z, I'll just text them on WhatsApp, can you get this done? This is why it is. And then most likely you're okay with it. So it's also, I think part of it is trust and respect, which is one of the core competencies of NXP as well. So that's my observation. When I really look into it, I use this skills as a Gen Y to bridge between the two different generations. So yeah, that's my point of view.
Nice. So unconsciously or consciously, we may have been adjusted to different ways of communication. Talking to Gen X and talking to Gen Z, there are different approaches that you are taking. Nice. What about Imran? Would you like to maybe share?
I think I can top up a bit on what Leng and Vivek mentioned, right? Okay, I think first is the motivation, the purpose behind it, right? Actually, yes, I would say Gen Z, I don't know about the others, but I would say for me, it's like we are quite self-motivated. We have a lot of energy, right? We're still quite young. So when we want to do something, hopefully we know why we're doing it, at least, and to see whether what we're doing has an impact, the global impact on the team or to the company in general. I think that is one thing that would really motivate Gen Zs. So again, I think I agree with Elton. It's not that we questioning you. It's not. It's more to we want to understand ourselves to set okay, if I know what I'm gonna do, why I'm doing it, then possibly I can do that particular task better. Yeah. And then to what Vivek mentioned is that, yeah, actually now that you mentioned it, if I talk to my Gen X, right, yes, I tend to go to them and not really text them or so on, right? So like we just go to them physically and then treat them with a bit more respect. I think it's due to our Asian culture of, age, an age gap where we tend to be more respectful. Yeah. And then just my personal experience. I think one main role that I have in my current job is to like mediate any conflicts, right? So I think at the time I had a particular case where one party was a Gen X, the other party is a Gen Y, and then they were like a bit like that lah, right? Okay. So as a Gen Z, right, we don't really have much work experience. I think, right? I think we only been working for 3 years, but I think one main takeaway from that experience I had was for me to just listen and empathize. Is Kamala here? Is Kamala still here? No. No, left already. Okay, but basically, empathy, I believe, is actually quite important because in the end, sometimes in a particular problem, there's multiple solutions to it, right? So Gen X, Gen Y can see it in a different perspective. So as a Gen Z, I may not have my own perspective towards things, but at least I try to understand where they're coming from. And then from there, like, I try to figure out, like, in any conflict, it's best to find a middle ground, right? So from there, I just try to, mediate it, try to see where you're coming from, and then from there, I realized, like, when you have two separate generations, more often than not, you would have differing opinions. So I think that's one experience I had. Yeah, just people having different opinions on things. Yeah.
That's a very good example there. Yeah? Yes, if things go okay, that's fine. But when it comes to conflict situation, that's where you can see the gaps between each generation a little bit more. That's where the empathy we need to set in. And interesting point raised by Imran here. Even when Leng first started this warm-up question by saying, hey, I need to figure out who is on the other side of the screen. And try to kind of give them a why, a motivation statement to start it. That itself is actually empathy, the starting point of empathy, right? When you start to look at the other side of the person and what do they need. Very good. Yeah, thank you so much for that reply, for that warm-up question. Well, let me now maybe go to Leng, yeah? All right. So one of the things that we observe, and many said by ChatGPT is with this, we are in the era where Gen X will feel there is actually an increase of needs in terms of flexibility of what the workforce want. And on the other hand, we are also in a way see and feel the increased use of technology. Yeah, these are the two things where Gen X is not very familiar with. It's not the era where we grew up from. So I'd like to hear from Leng your perspective. How is it like your perception looking at these increasing need for flexibility and technology as you're leading your team in NXP now?
Very challenging, yeah. Especially Gen X, not so good with technology compared to Y and Z. And also flexibility is something that is not where we come from. No, before COVID, pre-COVID, all of us know that we work in the office, long hours, 5 days a week, yeah. Sometimes Saturday, Sunday also come. But now, after COVID, all of us are like getting used to the flexibility. So the Gen X also getting used to it, which is a good thing. And of course, Gen Y and Gen Z, definitely you would like to have flexibility, yeah? I see the thumbs up very fast. Technology also something that Gen X also good at, but it's something that we learn also from our generation. We have to start learning, like my daughter said, Mom, adapt to the new technology. Yeah, so we have to learn and adapt and learn from the younger generation. So just pause a bit, just look at flexibility. Why does Gen Z especially, Gen Z look for flexibility. There are two types of flexibility they look at. One is a very normal, right? A lot of companies today give you 3 days work from office, 2 days work from home, or the other way around. Yeah, flexible as long as you deliver result. But some Gen Z actually look for flexible work schedule. Means what? No, you don't bother what time I start working, don't bother what time I stop working, don't bother where I work from. As long as I deliver result. So these are the kind of flexibility. Flexibility actually got good and bad. This is their reason. But actually, all of us also experience that. The good part is that you wake up in the morning, you can straight away work, right? You don't have to spend time traveling, finding parking, pay for the parking, or even pay for your meals, right? At home, you can just grab anything from the fridge, So that's a good part. But the bad part is actually that for jobs that need to be really like in the factory, like this factory, we look at a lot of people still work in production line. But where do they get the support from? They get from the support team. But what if the support team is on a flexible schedule? Can you find the finance person to help you? Maybe no, the finance person say, hey, today I work from home. So the support may be a bit challenging, I feel. So there's always good and bad. The technology portion, we definitely need to adapt. Yes, the world is moving very fast. Technology is growing because of this era is called the rise of secure connected edge because of AI, connected devices, all this. We cannot say we don't want to move along. We must move along in order to stay competitive, in order to stay relevant. So this is something that we have to do.
Yeah. I relate more to bullying because coming from the same area. So sorry about it. Anyway, talking about this adapt, maybe Pauline can share a little bit more. How do you exactly adapt to it? Especially the technology bit.
Good question, Be more open to new things. Just very simple, just at home, right? At home. People talk about smart home. A lot of devices now, smart home. Connected, our things, like fridge, is connected to your devices. Or even washing machine connected. But you may ask, first when you buy a washing machine connected to your phone, you may ask, why do I need the washing machine to get connected to my phone? Is it really necessary? But as you use it, actually you find, so convenient, right? So this is part of the adaptation that we have to do. Another thing is, we wish our parents also to be more adaptive, right? Example, we introduce things to them, like I introduced a dryer to my mother-in-law. We hope to make their life easier, right? But she resists in the beginning, said, why I need to put inside dryer, take a lot of electricity, I hang under the sun. This is Malaysia. Hang under the sun, very fast dryer. But can you imagine old people, because movement not so flexible already, the moment they are hanging, they may fall down, right? And let's say rainy season, you hang and you have to bring in, and you bring out again, you bring in, and still not dry yet. So dryer, isn't it very helpful? That is our point of view. So we wish they are adaptive also. So the same thing, our children look at us, they also wish that we are adaptive. Same thing.
Well, very good example there. Day-to-day is actually day-to-day operation, day-to-day life provides lots of opportunity for us to learn, to be adaptive. Well, again, if I may ask another follow-up question, any one of the panelists can actually take this question on this matter again on flexibility. Well, just like how Pauline see the mother-in-law, right? So now, for you all, in the working context, seeing the Gen X here, trying hard to adapt, how is it like for you all?
Okay, maybe if I have a few words to speak, is that I really appreciate Gen X to really adapt. I think, for example, at home, again, is my mom. I think my mom has a tough time in learning on how to do e-shop like Lazada, Shopee, right? So every single time, adik, macam nak buat, you know, like, macam nak bayar, macam nak tukar. So I only showed her once, and then of course, like, I mean, she's like super Gen X, I think. She's 1960s, right? So she's much older than the, you know, but she had the drive to actually learn, and then in the end of the day, it's like, oh, she shows to me like, oh, dah boleh buat dah apa lah and all that. So I actually really appreciate, you know, people just learn new things. Doesn't matter you're Gen X or Gen Y, right? Just the fact of you learning new things, right? And then one thing, I have one question for you. When it comes to meetings, you mentioned earlier that online meetings, right? Which do you actually prefer, like physical meetings or online meetings? I think online meetings, you don't really get the emotion, right, from behind the screen, especially if you don't turn on cameras. Do you turn on cameras? I think most, and I think NXP, we don't generally open cameras, right? Yeah, so what do you think? What's your point of online and physical meetings?
Both have pros and cons. Online, of course, is easier to get people together, right? Because then you don't have to find a meeting room, have a suitable time, people travel to that place. So definitely it's easier that way. But the not so good part, just like what you say, you don't know what's the people's emotion, what's on the face. The moment the person says something, sounds like angry, but actually the person may be not angry, right? So you may misjudge. Yeah? So whether on camera or not, I was just telling, sometimes you're not really, you look haggard, you didn't really put any, if you say anything, people may look at you like, why you look so tired, your face, right? So you don't turn on your camera. But of course, if you turn on camera, definitely is better. Yeah. So, and encourage to, if possible.
So for what I do, we actually do everything online, if possible, do online. So we have this general rule that if it's a check-in, anything that's within, let's say 15 minutes, 30 minutes we can do, it's okay, you can turn off your cameras. We don't need to see your face, it's fine. But if, let's say, we are doing something discussion, we want to get your opinion on things, and it's a brainstorm session, yes, turn on video, or we can do it in person. That's my general rule for that.
I see. All right, thanks, Elton. What about Vivek? Do you have any point to add on to this question from Imran?
For me, I prefer having face-to-face meetings instead of doing it online. Unfortunately, I like to see the person's face and you can get the non-verbal cues, how they're feeling about whatever we're doing. If it's through a Teams meeting, a lot of times it's just I'm talking to myself because they don't get feedback. So there's one problem about Teams meetings, you don't really get the feedback from the room. You can't see what's happening. So I prefer face-to-face meeting. Online meeting is good if you have issues like, certain times you cannot meet people, so it's good to have online meetings during COVID and all that. That's where it started. I think a lot of online meetings started flourishing after COVID. So everything's been pushed to online nowadays.
All right. Thanks, Vivek. Well, I'm trying to adapt and learn from the Gen X because he said having the why is very important. So let me ask Imran, why did you have that question? Imran, why did you have that question of which do we prefer, online or face-to-face meeting? Why?
Okay, I think it goes.
I thought you would prefer online meeting.
No, okay. So
yes, I thought so.
So I think what my current job role is like somewhat lead a small group, right? And I realized that online meetings tend to the emotion that you can't really capture, right? So I am an FA engineer, so we have an office just right up here, and also we have our labs, the FA lab. Okay. So the FA lab is all the way in the Tesla, so it's like at least a 5-minute walk from here. So we had a problem where how do we get people to be in the meeting, because they're all sometimes they do cases at their labs, right? And then while some 50% is all in the office. So it's hard for us to like juggle we want to, the best is of course is physical meeting because we want to see the emotion, we get participation, we're not talking to ourselves, right? So, but they're all doing that, so I don't want to really kacau them also at the same time, right? It kind of hinders their productivity at the same time. Like they have to set up, like for FA, we do a lot of this test setup, right? And that usually takes like half an hour, sometimes it can be 1 hour if there's bugs and issues. And then tiba-tiba 3 o'clock, got meeting. Then they have to like go there, meeting, and then go back. It hinders productivity. But at the same time, we need that face-to-face interaction. So I'm thinking like, what you guys' opinion of how do we like balance this out? So like the balance between productivity by having online, but at the same time participation in the meeting where it's face-to-face. I think that's one thing I can't even answer myself. How do I, yeah. So that's the question why I posed to polling. Yeah.
Sure. I just add on. Once in a while, we should really get together. Just like now in package innovation, every Thursday is our collaboration day. So everyone must be in the office on the Thursday, if possible. If you're not traveling, not having a business trip, Thursday is a collaboration. So once a week, we all still must make effort to come together. Yes, exactly like I said.
That's why I say I think the general rule is if to commute or to walk to somewhere, you can finish your meeting during that time, just have it online. Like for me, because I work with a lot of different partners, some overseas, and even my local partners, it's at least a 30 minutes drive. So if within that 30 minutes drive, I can actually finish the meeting, it could be an online meeting. But yes, I understand. So sometimes you need to have brainstorm sessions and you want to see face-to-face, you need emotions, then definitely, if that 30 minutes is worth it, I will still make the face-to-face meeting happen.
Wow, even on this topic of technology and flexibility, it kind of like go so much, there are so many perspectives, even for a day-to-day meeting that we have, yeah? And just to add one more point, that is, I think for the online meeting, sometimes for the other party to allow us to kind of like off the screen for a little while, that moment also we feel we are being empathized, that maybe the other person understands us, maybe another perspective to look at. Well, wow, pew. Okay, well, that's on the flexibility and technology part, how we adapt to one another. Well, let us now move on to a very interesting generation here, which is Vivek's generation. Yeah, they are, why they are interesting? Why? Why? Because they are white. Yeah, they are sandwiched in between the X and the Z. Right? Just like I think Pauline quoted the example of in the family, right? So it's very much like a parent having your grandparent or your mother and your child, right? You are the layer in between. So I'm really curious to know from Vivek, how do you bridge as you are in this position?
Okay, so in my perspective, Gen Y, we're actually in the middle of how we see our parents, for example, working hard to get where we are now. And look at our kids, our sisters and brothers at the lower end who are mostly Gen Zs. So we are actually a good example as a mediator between the two generations. So an example would be in terms of technology. Like I used to have an intern, Pedro, Daniel knows him. So normally we would see, for example, ChatGPT as something like, for me personally, if I use ChatGPT to create a script or something, I look at it as cheating. But to Gen Z, it's just a way of work. For example, if he used to do programming, if he wants to solve a programming solution, instead of Googling or finding in books, he just types in ChatGPT and it gives him the solution. So he uses it as a tool to move forward, which for me was a different perspective. I felt like, this is not the correct way to do it. And if it's a Gen X, I think you still feel like, oh, no way, when you are stealing IP from the internet. Yeah, but as a Gen Z, it's a tool to make it easier for you to find a solution. Because end of the day, I'm still going to be Googling and trying to find a solution to this problem, but they have a way of doing it. And that's the cultural divide. For us, it's work hard, but for them, it's work smart or make it quick. I want a quick solution. I don't want to waste a lot of time. So in my perspective, I think as a Gen Y, I can bridge the gap between the two. Maybe I can explain, if you were to go directly to a Gen X, you would be shut down for doing this. This is just an example. But it also depends on people. I think some people have different perspective. So Gen Y would be a very good mediator between the two in terms of technology integration or in terms of values also. We have different values compared to Gen Z. Gen Z is fast-paced. Gen X is normally work ethic, works 5 days. My parents used to work like 7 days a week. And for us, it's more about work-life balance, whereas Gen Z is flexible working hours. If I want 4 days a week, would be even better. Yeah, so Gen Y is like a good bridge between the two. That's where we try and communicate what we have, what the knowledge that we have between the two, and be the mediator between them.
Thank you so much. Very nice word used, mediator. So would you mind to maybe share with us a little the challenges that you face when you're in this role, playing the mediator role? Yeah, we see that a lot in family, right? So let's look at the work context.
For me, for me, like I said, most likely I would have problems explaining what a Gen Z is doing to a Gen X. So you need to word it in a way where they understand that this is the correct way of doing it. So I need to have proper words or proper way of demonstrating that this is actually the correct way of doing it. So for me, the challenge would be most likely trying to skew whatever that's being done here in terms of words that a Gen X would understand. Not necessarily Gen X, sometimes Gen Y, so we have that like gap between Gen Z. It's not necessarily Gen X for me to explain to. So that's the challenges of trying to bridge the gap between the two. Finding the words that will meet both parties.
Yeah, well said. Thanks so much, Vivek. Well, anyone from the panel here would like to maybe add on to the points Vivek have just mentioned?
Actually, pulling you first. Okay, I think you mentioned earlier about ChatGPT doing, basically asking ChatGPT on how to do a coding solution, and in the end, it gives you a solution and it gets the work done, right? But then sometimes we think like, oh, that's a bit cheating.
Yeah.
I kind of understand that because initially, I think in my uni days, ChatGPT already existed, right? So at the same time, I could have just used ChatGPT at the time, but it kind of feel like if I don't do it myself, it's as if like I am, it's a waste. It's like it's a challenge that I could impose myself, but I'm going to use the easy route. So I kind of understand that perspective of it's not the right way of doing it. But now I think the question stands is, which do you guys value more, the way of doing it or the output? Yeah, I think this is a question that I would like to ask both Gen X and Gen Y, and possibly Elton also. Like, what's your perspective?
I'm definitely the later. I value the output.
Ah.
If you can do it in a shorter period of time, why not?
Yeah.
But I think how maybe I try to become Gen X, Gen Y.
You try. Okay,
I don't know. But
okay, you try.
Possibly it's one way of saying it is, let's say you're leading a team and they're doing it like that for like all the time, right? It kind of worries me that they don't grow as an individual. So maybe that's one way of seeing it, but I'm not sure. Maybe polling, Vivek, maybe you have opinions on this.
I think you have different ways of looking at it. Like if you're using this tool to like plagiarize work, then that wouldn't be the correct way. But if it's to find solutions, I don't think it's a problem. Eventually, we need to adapt over time, I guess. So if you don't do it right now, in about 10 years, that's going to be the norm, and we will be lagging behind. And it's a very good gateway for us to quicken our steps. So a lot of things nowadays is to be a bit more fast-paced. Don't take it too slow, and it's like you said, like output-driven, right? Yeah. So if you take some,
Finish first.
yeah. So you take time, and sometimes you will end up lagging behind the competition.
You can continue on this point first.
Yeah, maybe you go first. Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to add on Vivek's point about how he become the middleman. What I find about the beauty of your generation, you are a very good collaborator. So we should always leverage that strength in the Gen Y. You ask them to collaborate, they do really beautiful, very well. So now on his question, ChatGPT. Yeah, so give you an example how my team learned to adapt recently. We didn't use ChatGPT, we used Copilot. Okay. So I feel our generation, of course, how we use it recently is we write technical paper. Okay. We write it first, all the key points are there, very nicely written. But maybe the structure of sentences not so beautiful, right? So how to beautify? Then there comes the Copilot. So we will run through one time with Copilot. Wow, then the structure all very nice already. And then only they pass to me for final review. Then I'll say, okay, this point maybe you can structure different ways slightly. So, but make my job a lot easier as a final reviewer of 13 papers from a team. So that's how we use technology. But of course, the meat of the key points all come from us. We didn't choose anything from.
I think the end of your point, like for Vivek, you guys, actually you are very close to Gen Z. So we kind of see your generation as like a bigger brother rather than father or mother. So it's more easier to collaborate and it helps with the collaboration. And to the point which talks about using AI or this kind of thing. So I'm doing digital marketing and everything that we can find online. So just walk you through my process. Let's say if I want to create a LinkedIn post, I can just say, hey, ChatGPT, can you create a LinkedIn post for this event? And here are the points that I talk about. Yes, ChatGPT can come up with all the points, but that's not necessarily what you want to say. So as a marketer, you still need to know who your target audience is and tune that post to how your target audience wants it. And it's similar to that. So after that, I'll put it into Grammarly to check the grammar. And then I'll put it into ChatGPT again. Hey, can you structure it in a way that sounds friendly and everything? And the last point, I will still have to do it myself. Because no matter how, you cannot replace the expertise. That ChatGPT AI can only help you to do research faster, or let's say I use Perplexity, can help you do research faster and structure your thoughts. The final output still has to come from you. Yeah, that's because I use it every single day. This is my daily process because AI really helps where my industry is. I'm not sure whether you use the same for your industry.
Well, interesting, huh? Yeah. Looks like even a topic like ChatGPT can actually stir up a lot of conversations between the three generations here. Yeah, talking about output, talking about process, talking about how we use it. So I think the adaptation, because that question came from Imran, so I guess the adaptation doesn't come only from the Gen X. Gen Z is also trying to see how this tool, this technology can blend into a multi-generation workforce we are in now, right? So we are all trying to adjust what would be the best way that we can learn together. Yeah, all right, good. So let us move on and now maybe zoom in a little to Gen Z. All right, maybe you would like to ask Imran. Start laughing already, right? Okay, all right. What really motivates you? And yeah, for Gen Z who is actually 3 years in working life, how do you define your career success?
How do I define? The question is how do I
Yes,
define
what
career
motivates
success?
you and how do you define your career success?
Okay, so so I've only been working for 3 years, so there's not much experience that I can share, right? It's just 366 times 3. No need much days.
Less than 1,000.
Just
slightly more than
1,000. Yeah. But I think for me personally, what motivates me is if the work environment promotes errors. It promotes errors. What I'm trying to say is for you to take risks. Able to take risks and able to take the ownership behind that risk. Is to really like show to Gen X and Gen Y as, hey, I'm Gen Z, I can do it also. It's more like to really show myself that I can do it, right? So I think if the work environment promotes that kind of behavior from Gen Zs, that's what motivates me, I would say, is the ability to basically take more risks and take ownership behind that risk. Yeah, I guess more decision making, but of course decision making from a Gen Z is not that optimal because you don't have much experience on your belt. But I would say if a Gen Y or Gen X like kind of coaches them on behind that decision making, it would be really good. So I would say my current department gives me that ability, and I take the ownership behind that risk. If it fails, okay, that's my problem. Okay, but if it succeeds, then it goes to show that actually I can do it. It gives me some degree of confidence, and I want to strive to be better and better and better. So I think that's one thing that motivates me. So, but when it comes to successful career, this one is very highly subjective. So I asked around a few of my friends. So in the end of the day, some of my friends say, oh, this, yeah, monetary compensation, 100%. That is successful career. Oh, not the hard one.
have to rub, right? That means the money, not the heart, right?
Not the hard one.
Alright.
So like to them, it's like, oh, I just want to get the more money, right? So I think that's where I start to have a differing opinion on things. I would say, okay, in Malay we call it niat, or is the intention of the purpose of behind what you do. So to me, as long as that niat is correct, the monetary compensations, the promotions will come in due course. So that kind of the niat I'm trying to refer to is, if you are always want to, try to be better every day, learn small things every day, it will be, I think there's a term called compounding interest in terms of finance, right? So I take that into myself also. It's like, oh, if I just slowly build up more and more and more and more and more, I would say that is a successful career. So I can't really define what is a successful career because I'm just 3 years under my belt. But I think if I hold to that niat or that motivation or purpose of behind what I do, I believe all the monetary compensation will come. So that's how I take my point of view of a successful career. Yeah.
Wow, I take my hats off many times in my heart when you use the word niat. Yeah, very inspiring for me, even for Gen X, hearing a Gen Z saying that, yeah, it not just does, yeah, but it is the niat, and that we do things. Wow, that's really inspiring. But going back to my first question, asking what motivates you, and you say taking risks. Yeah, taking risk, but at the same time own it. Is taking risk plus the ownership part of it. When it came to that part, I'm gonna pass the next question to Pauline because in my heart I said dialogue. Take risk. Dialogue. What if we cannot fulfill? Ownership comes later, am I right? Yeah, but first and foremost, take risk really must deliver. I don't know, I just would like to maybe check from Pauline, from a Gen Z, you say, I want to take risk, I will take ownership of it later. How do you decide that and then?
Okay, now that sounds a bit...
sorry, I'm exaggerating it, so maybe you want to refine the
silly
context.
of you saying that.
Yeah, you refine the context before Pauline take the question. Yeah.
Okay, I think what I mean by taking risk is not like, making paradigm shift level of change to the company, no, not that kind of.
Okay,
I would
alright,
say it's like
understand.
maybe the Gen X, Gen Y leaders can give, those risks that, if it fails, it's fine, but at least it kind of trains the Gen Z that, is you decide this, you should take ownership. No need to go like, project scale level kind of risk. No.
Okay.
But it's more like a smaller, toned down ones, is to promote that, if you succeed, it's all on you. Good job, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Thank you for redefining that context. So now back to you. But even for that also, I also feel my heart is pumping. Anyway, your turn, Pauline. How do you react or deal with the situation like this?
Actually, I find that point that you said, and you want to keep learning and dare to take risks, it's very good. Coming from Gen Z. Because there's this term called mastery. Mastery means, if you read the book from Daniel Pink, he's a guy, even though his name has pink color, pink. Pink.
Okay.
Yeah, and he talked about drive. And one of the key factors how to create drive is mastery. Mastery means you keep learning. As long as you are willing to take the risk, keep learning, your potential has no limit. Yeah. So, and you add value to yourself. Keep adding the value. Then you will really grow. So that is a good part in you, which we encourage. But take calculated risk. A risk that your boss also agreed with.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I think. Thank you to both of you all to redefine the context and make it clearer about the risk that we're talking about here. All right. So the next Gen Z, I'd like to talking about taking risks and all this ownership. Yeah. Would like to maybe have this question for Elton, who kind of like I must say take very big risks. I would say yeah for someone who choose a path that is not like the rest. And would like to maybe hear from Elton. What makes you make this choice to be on your own? And then how do you now, from your perspective, after making the choice to be a freelancer, looking at people who is working in a traditional work context?
Yeah, just don't be a freelancer, man.
All right, apply job in NXP.
No, put it frankly, freelancers and if you are having a stable job, you have two different set of worries and things. So freelancers really worry, hey, who's our next client? My current client, am I servicing them good enough? And even your work hours, nothing is fixed. You don't have KWSP, there's source code, I need to contribute myself. All these kind of things come under freelancing. But if you talk about risk, why Gen Zs are more likely to take risks, as I was discussing with Moderator, so that you understand most Gen Z, we have Gen X parents. And Gen X parents, you guys are doing pretty well yourself.
Who is it laughing?
So look at it, if you're a Gen X parents, most of your kids, they went to university, you put them through university and everything, and let's say even now they come out and say, I don't want to work. They still have a roof over their head, you're still gonna feed them, and they're still gonna be fine. While for when you guys came out, this was not the case. So if we're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, most Gen Z now has the first two needs already met. And so they don't really care about, oh, no money is fine, I spend less, or I can. You still always give pocket money, I bring you to eat good food, you get a car and everything. Okay, I don't show that up, but you need to understand that our needs are fundamentally different already. So hence we are allowed to take risks when there is the safety net over there. And so that's about for why Gen Z takes more risks. For like what Imran said about exponential gains, my whole business, everything actually started with just one phone, and it was I think an Honor phone. So and a Lenovo laptop, which I used to eventually step by step. I bought some gear, and then I learned the whole thing actually on YouTube. So my degree is actually in business psychology, completely nothing to do with marketing and production. And we as Gen Z, I would think that we are actually very motivated and very hardworking, contrary to what other people think. Just that you need to give us a purpose to work. So through this, I actually researched on my own and everything throughout COVID. And 1% by 1%, I think the book's called Atomic Habits. Yeah, that's the book. Every day you improve a bit, you learn a bit more. You will see the gain. So I look back after like three years since, I think I graduated same time as you also.
Okay.
2021, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes, I graduated same time as him, 2021. And up to now, I never thought that I would be here today, but it's the little things that I do that adds up to where I am. So I think what he says is like you need to encourage your employees or staff, like Gen Z staff, to just make the 1% change. Just a little bit. So it's not so much of, oh, you get this whole project, like what he said. But hey, can you just take control of this small aspect? What are your thoughts on it? Anything can be done better in this area? And then you move from there. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much. I think, very important point raised here, I think which all of us nod our head, and I can see all of us, including those on the floor, talking about a small little step we made. And then even the risk is not exponential risk, but a step at a time. So both parties learns to adjust from one another. Wow. On that note, it's about time where we're going to maybe take questions from the floor, but very interesting and engaging and to the point conversation we are having upstage here. So we'd like to maybe take some questions from you all. I'll pass it to Galila to facilitate that.
Okay, so anyone have any questions? You can direct them to either Elton, Leng, Vivek, or Imran. I have to pick one.
Who is it? I cannot see.
It's a colleague of mine.
Oh, okay.
Right. Hello. We know that using technology for our work all the time. But coming on the millennials, the alpha gang, the beta gang that's coming on, we are going to see some disconnect in the technological view. For example, all which are using a laptop for our work, email, team, communication, presentation, Word, technical report, everything. But we are starting to see a disconnect in the millennial going forward. How are we going to address that? Because I think that a very impactful advertisement made by Apple, where it's showing a kid that is using an iPad. And the neighbor was asking, how is your PC? And the kid was actually replying, what's your PC? Which means that we are going to start to have a technological gap in our future generation. How are we going to address that?
Maybe I can have a few points here. So just to really understand the question is, right now, I think all of us are using PCs, but now there are the newer generations. I think is like baby alpha, right? The starting of alpha. Yeah. So now they start to use iPads really, and then he said that, oh, where's your PC? And then the kid says, what's a PC, right? So now it's like, oh, there's going to be a bigger, gigantic gap because now even the kid doesn't know how to use a PC. They just know how to use iPads. So how is the work industry going to be? Are we going to use iPads? Are we going to adapt not using PCs? So I think is that your question, right? Okay. I think in the end it plays actually I don't want to bring the government in here, but but I would say like the Ministry of Education has to play a part here to like really bridge the gap between like the kids to slowly show that PCs is what the generation Z, Y, and X is using, and maybe from there they try to like bridge the gap something like that. What I'm trying to say. So yeah, I think you guys are.
So I think it's not so much. I think humans, right? We have the best ability that even AI cannot is adaptability. So if AI, you put in a question, it comes out some stupid answer, it's because it don't understand context. But we can adapt on the fly. And last time was all papers.
Yep.
How did we adapt to now iPad? There was no initiation or rollout of education. We just did it out of necessity. And I think, to your point, the next generation, out of necessity, they will also figure out ways to make the switch. So we are not there yet. We are going to be there, but I don't think so. There's so much of a difference between a laptop or PC and an iPad. But I think the biggest jump will be from iPad to virtual reality or augmented reality. That is one thing that it's for us to figure out. I don't think so. It's going to be probably the next 10 to 20 years thing. So it's going to be our
it's going to be our problem. It's going to be our problem
to figure out, and we will be the Gen X of the future. So yeah, well, we will figure it out.
I recall the first time I saw a computer was in my Form 6. And there's a huge computer, right? And it was so huge, don't even know how to type. But still we figured, right? Then we go to university, we saw it in the library, they started to give us computer, we try, and then we started learning how to type, buying a computer of our own, type report and all that. I think that's how we learn from my Generation X. If we can learn, I'm sure whichever the next generation, they should be able to adapt to any new things.
Yeah, nicely said, by each and every one of you. A very good point there to bring all of us here to somewhere very far from here, where we can see the reality coming into place maybe 5 years, 10 years from now. Yeah, I think one keyword Leng mentioned just now at the beginning of the session is adaptability. So I think all of us are adapting, like you say, small little habit, we are taking exponential risk to adapt day to day, bit by bit. So we do not know what's ahead of us 5 or 10 years from now. And I'm very sure 10 or 20 years from now, if you were to have the same panel discussion here, maybe that time we'll use digital online. Imran and Elton may be taking a seat of the senior ones. And having those beta, alpha in the line to talk about the next stage of technology. I think things move that way. I think most importantly, as coming back to what Pauline said, it's about adaptability at each and every point of the time. Yeah.
Just add one more thing. So we work with a lot of, let's say, digital tech now. I think the main thing is you need to anchor it something within the last generation's thing to help them transition. For me, let's say I use ChatGPT and AI, everything. If I tell my Gen X client about that, they'll be like, what's your source? What's all this thing? You have no basis. But if you can put it, let's say they're more familiar with, let's say Word document. Put it, structure in a Word document with your references and everything. So even though your source is from ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever, they have something that is familiar to them. Oh, I've seen this before. And they're not so easily to straight away reject you. So that anchoring item or technology is very important. Yeah, sorry.
Nice. Good one. Yeah, any next
I
comment?
think this adaptability, right? I think we have framed it that the Gen X has to adapt to Gen Z, Gen Y is Gen Z. Actually, the adaptability should come both ways, right? I think that's what you mentioned earlier. So I think in the end of the day, when we work in a multi-generational thing, adaptability comes both ways. I have to adapt how the Gen X has been working, right? Because whatever they've been doing, it works. We've been living in that era for so long when we were kids, sucking our thumbs. Gen X has been, pushing it out, So their ways is not wrong. So for us, Gen Zs, we have to adapt towards them as well. Yeah, so it comes both ways.
Definitely. Well said. I think there's a question.
It's good to be over this side. Good morning, guys. Just a quick question for Vivek. You and I are from the same generation, although probably I may not look like it. But we're from the same generation.
Just a bit bigger.
Yeah. So my question is, I remember you using the word bridge, where we are stuck right in the middle between two different generations, right? And we are also probably most of us are in mid-level managerial positions as well. So we've got people who are from the younger generation who've got a whole different mindset, and we report to those people who have a whole different mindset, right? So I don't know about you, but I have this this need to have dual personality, right? It's to adapt to who we report to, and it's to convince who we teach to, right? So how do you do it? Do you also have that, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, both groups of people, you've got to, deal with your seniors and, your senior managers and directors who are, almost retirement. Not you, Daniel. Almost retiring. And, how do you manage those kind of, their emotions, their ways of working? Now, how do you convert it? You digest it first, and then you've got to convert it and convince the general group. Right. So I realize I take some time to do that. So do you also have this trouble, and how do you see things? Like, do you see them growing up, or do you see this older generation changing to become like the younger generation?
Yeah, but for me personally, I think similar to what you said, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, I have to play a part where I would get the input from, say, a Gen X, and to feed it on to a Gen Z, for example, I would need to word it in a way that would make sense to him. Like similar to the question previously, like you want output, but you need a purpose to get it. So the way that I communicate the purpose would be based on how I feel the person is. That means if it's a Gen Z, I need to be very detailed. It can be fast, I can do it very quickly, but it needs to be directly to the point and very concise of why I need this to be done. Whereas if I were to get the instruction would be very general. Please achieve this, and no purpose, nothing. It's just a goal to meet, right? Yeah, so why we meet the goal, I need to really give him a point and let him know, like, doing this, what is the point of doing it? Is it visibility? Is it that you get to shine, so that they will feel, okay, this is why I need to do it. So like you said, exactly what you said, I have to do like a two-faced life, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Not Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like, both are good faces. Yeah. So like Jekyll and Jekyll. Was Jekyll the better?
I forgot it.
As long as it's not Cain and Abel.
Oh, yeah, so exactly. But yeah, what about you guys? So it's similar for polling, is it the same? That's for a Gen Y perspective. Yeah, so for polling, is that something that you use? Yeah. Because you will communicate to a Y and a Z, right? So yours is a bit more different.
True. My team, half my team is Y, half X. So I really don't have a Z. That's a good part. But communicating.
Oh, you don't have a Z in your
I
team?
have a Z in my team. Yes. But I deal a lot with, because I'm a chairman of Electronics Patching Society, we always go into university talking to Z. Yes. So sharing with Z is where all this purpose, they must be able to see their future. Like I say, we promote semiconductor industry, you must make them see the future in the industry, where industry. Yeah. But how do we bridge this two? My boss give instruction really is, you're right, very simple, right? I want this done, I want like that, you know. But for us to really cascade it down, we need to explain it very well. Yeah. Make them see exactly what is the benefit of them doing A or B or Z and all that. We have to really explain it out nicely. I see why NXP recent years put out the purpose statement. Actually, it's also for that reason. You see, previously we don't see a purpose statement, right? They always say my vision, the mission, right? But now recent years they put out a very nice purpose statement, right? Bringing together bright minds, create breakthrough technology, and we connect the world better, safer, more secure. It's really for this reason.
Correct.
It's really, if you see our winning culture survey we used to, there were times people say, I don't really know what's purpose, right? So improving from there, they put in the purpose and all the value system, all the 6 ones.
Yeah, nice one. And also to add on to your question, as what Imran has mentioned just now, which I thought he brought in a very good point in terms of taking the small little risk. So I think apart from explaining the why, as what Vivek mentioned just now, is to, in your conversation, letting them be aware that there's a little risk that you'll take, but you're going to take ownership of it. I think that may actually motivate Gen Z, because Imran brought up that point just now. Instead of just an 100% instruction giving. So they want that little risk, and with that little risk, they want to take that little ownership for them to grow. Just to bring back that
risk with guidance.
Risk with guidance. Okay, all right. Wow, now with another one. Risk guided ownership. Okay, take note.
Risk guided.
No, because we are also aware that we haven't done anything in terms of work experience. So we don't know a lot of things, or even a lot of things that could happen. So that's where, even though we take risks, we need you to tell us where, hey, this actually doesn't work, or this, and it's up to us whether you tell us really whether we want to take still take the extra risk or not. But some things we cannot replace, which is work experience. That is true.
Yes, agree. Yep.
All right. Good point there. I think a few factors, or points for you to pick up. Thank you for that question.
Ruben is definitely talking about the video.
No spot bonus.
This comes to my second question, which maybe all of you can address, right? So you all said that you will need that particular skill set where you digest what you get from your boss and you process it and then you pass it down to the next level, right? So do you think that's a skill set for managers of these positions? Do you need that particular skill set? Would you all look for that skill set when you promote someone into these positions, like the ability to take instructions and process it and then deliver it to the next line of employees? Do you think that's an important skill set?
To me, yes, it is. Yeah. Because this also reflects the maturity of that person. If you are able to capture the gist of it and how to channel it down, it's a skill.
Yeah. to develop a harmonious workplace, you definitely need that skill set. Like we have supervisors in the line, if they are not able to deliver the message to the subordinates, the line will run in chaos. So it's very important for them to be able to have that skill set, especially for like supervisors, people with downline. It's very important for them to be able to translate the message and put it into a way where the next person is able to understand. So it's definitely an important skill set for me personally.
Okay, I think that's it to wrap up the Q&A session. Now I have a short quiz for you guys, about 3 questions only. My first question is, which generation is not tech savvy?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Correct. Second question.
Technically, Gen X created the tech, right?
Hey, actually, yeah, that's a good point.
I just switch it on and off. That's it.
So savvy.
Which generation likes to question the purpose of the work to feel
The question haven't finished yet.
They know the answer already.
Gen Z.
Correct.
Gen Z.
Last question.
Wow.
Gen
Which generation is stuck in the middle?
Alpha.
What, you're right. I think that's it to wrap up our session. I appreciate the panel and to give some session, some topic of appreciation.